Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Monday morning to you all. Hope you guys are waking up and having a wonderful start to your day, and I hope everyone's having a great beginning to their new week out there so far. It's been incredibly active in regards to severe weather, and unfortunately, today will be no different. Last night, we had multiple strong tornadoes. In fact, they were probably intense to violent. We won't find out the exact EF rating until probably sometime this afternoon to this evening. It might take a couple days for them to survey this damage, but the one that happened in Kansas last night easily was an EF4, but we'll have to see what they say about that. But let's try to figure out what's going to happen this afternoon to this evening into the overnight hours, and we're going to spend all our time on that. We'll have a little segment at the very end for tomorrow's severe weather threat, which is an enhanced risk also, but the first thing we'll do is we'll take a look at the outlook per the Storm Prediction Center. This could change, as we know, with what happened yesterday. I made the video. It was an enhanced risk, and then it upgraded to a moderate risk, and rightfully so. It's certainly verified. But we'll section it off from the south to the north, and we'll zoom into individual areas, and then we'll give you a state-by-state breakdown of how these storms could evolve, or what's going to be the highest risk areas, and I'll give you my 2 cents on a few things as we kind of roll along here. But I've been saying this over the last several days. If you're just interested in one specific state, there'll be a timestamp up for it. Don't blame me if you ain't got time to watch a 35 to 40 minute video on the entire area. If you're just interested in your state, your area, utilize those timestamps. Are there to help you folks out. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And if anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below. And I am praying for everybody that's been impacted by this severe weather or have loved ones that's been impacted. It's certainly been a very rough stretch over the last several days. So let's try to figure out today. So let's get rocking and rolling. So this is the latest Storm Prediction Center outlook, a broad look at it. We're going to zoom into a couple areas here, but that red area, we have now got that upgrade to a moderate risk, which is no surprise. We were pretty much expecting this, and it's over a large area of Oklahoma and very small section of Kansas, Texas, Missouri, and western Arkansas. An enhanced risk around it, which goes all the way up into the Iowa, Missouri state line, includes a very small section of southeastern Nebraska, goes pretty deep down to northern areas of Texas. Slight risk around it, level 2 out of 5. And we do have this slight risk up for areas of Tennessee into northern Georgia, southwest North Carolina, into the upstate and eastern, western Midlands of South Carolina. And we'll even talk about that for you folks here in the southeast that's concerned about severe weather chances. But this is just a broad look at things. Let's begin to zoom into a couple areas. Let's speak on the southern mode first. So we'll include Oklahoma, Arkansas, Texas in this. Moderate risk, as I mentioned, Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Fayetteville, Fort Smith, down to Ardmore, Norman. You guys have a level 4 out of 5 risk of severe weather. Enhanced risk goes all the way through the Dallas-Fort Worth area, all the way over to Conway, Hot Springs, Arkansas, and then does get all the way to Lawton, just west of Oklahoma City. So that's a level 3 out of 5, and then we got the slight risk around it. Now, what's driving this? Tornadoes is driving it. This is one of the things. Hail's also driving it also. But that red area, Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Ardmore, down to the Red River boundary here, Fayetteville, that's a 15% risk of a tornado within 25 miles in a given location. The yellow area, that is a 10% risk of a tornado. And then the entire 10 and 15% yellow and red area, there's also a 10% risk of a strong EF2 or higher tornado. In the brown area, that is a 5% risk of a tornado. The green is a 2% risk. Now, what about winds? As of now, the red area is a 30% risk of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour, and the yellow area is a 15% risk of that. And what's interesting today is we have a threat of gigantic hail. There's a higher risk of hail today compared to yesterday, and we had numerous reports of 4-inch, 4.5-inch in diameter hail that I saw yesterday on social media. So the pink area, that's a 45% risk of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger. The red area, there's a 30% chance of that. In the yellow area, that's a 15% risk. And almost this entire hail risk area runs also a 10% risk of 2-inch in diameter or larger hail. And that includes all the red area, all the pink area, and a good chunk of the yellow 15% risk area. So don't ignore this hail threat today. The risk is there for very, very large hail. The atmosphere will support it. Now, the northern mode of this, There is a moderate risk for extreme southeastern areas of Kansas and southwestern areas of Missouri, Joplin included. It's a level 4 out of 5 in the red, but most of this area is in that enhanced risk as far as the highest risk, and that includes everybody in the orange, Kansas City over to Columbia, Springfield, Lebanon, West Plains, areas of the Ozarks, Wichita, Hutchinson, Topeka, Manhattan, up to St. Joseph, and a very small corner of southeastern Nebraska. Level 3 out of 5 risk of severe weather. Now I could see the moderate risk extending a little bit further north in the next outlook, but Omaha, Lincoln, level 2 out of 5, slight risk over to St. Louis also, the Buda, Missouri. What's driving this? The tornado threat, Joplin. You got that 15% risk of a tornado within 25 miles in a given location. You also have that 10% risk of a strong tornado, EF2 or higher. And then the yellow area, Kansas City, right in the middle of this, 10% risk of a tornado within 25 miles in a given location. But you also get that 10% risk of a strong tornado. And listen, a lot of people think that these bigger cities are exempt from tornadoes hitting. We just had an example of the fact that they can hit bigger cities a couple days ago. I mean, an EF3 tornado almost went through the heart of St. Louis, like literally the middle of it, and it pretty much hit close enough to it. I mean, we had EF3 tornado damage like in the northern suburbs of St. Louis. So they can hit larger towns. Nashville's another example of it. It happened a few years ago at night. But Omaha, 5% risk of a tornado in that brown. St. Louis, 5% risk of a tornado. Don't ignore it. And then the green area is a 2% risk. The risk of damaging winds, red area, 30% risk of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour within 25 miles in the given location. And the yellow area is a 15% risk of that. And then the hail threats is significant in this area. Also, Joplin, you have that 45% risk in that pink area of hail. And the red area is a 30% risk of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger. And then the yellow area is a 15% risk of that. And if you live in this black outline region right here, the black dash is going in between. That is a 10% risk of significant sized hail, which the Storm Prediction Center labels as 2 inch in diameter or larger. So it's a mouthful, I know. But let's speak on it state by state. So we'll include Texas first. Time frame is up here. We'll start off around 8 a.m. Not a whole lot going on in this area this morning. We take it to about midday. Still pretty quiet. 1 p.m., 2 p.m. Some storms could begin to fire north of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. 3 p.m., 4 p.m., 5 p.m. If it would go to 5 p.m. There we go. Look at that big storm. I mean, it's actually not big. It's just very intense. That fires up north of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Is that exactly where it's going to fire up? Probably not, but this is just giving us our best guess at where these storms could fire in the general area, so just take it like that. But there is an intense looking supercell around 6 p.m. starting to get north into southern Oklahoma, but still technically in areas of northern Texas. And then we start to get 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 9 p.m., 10 p.m., 11 p.m., midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., a little bit of storm action near Waco to Tyler. But overall, this specific run doesn't have a whole lot of activity. Now listen, I want to reiterate this. We could have widespread supercell activity going all the way just south of the Dallas-Fort Worth area in this entire area. But this specific model run just doesn't show a whole lot. But there's an enhanced risk that drapes all the way south of the Dallas-Fort Worth area for a reason, guys. So just note also, if it is just 1 or 2 supercells, they could produce all hazards. I mean, even a strong EF2 or higher tornado. So just keep that in mind, even though if you're tuning in from Texas, you didn't see much on your screen. All we can do is look at what we got, and that is a couple short-range models here. And I normally roll with the HRRR model. You know, some people hate the HRRR model. Some people love it. Some people love the NAM. But in my opinion, you just roll with one. It's going to be wrong sometimes. It's going to be right, etc. But we'll start off around 9 a.m. in Oklahoma. 10 a.m., 11, midday, it's around lunchtime. I just want you to watch this area of Oklahoma here. There's going to be a couple rounds here. And this is like 1 p.m. There's already a storm firing up between McAllister and Oklahoma City that already looks like a supercell. And just look at these cells. Like, look at this supercell down here in southeastern Oklahoma. Look at this stuff up here in Tulsa in between. I mean, just basically eastern Oklahoma is popping off early this afternoon. I mean, pretty quick. And then we go to 3 p.m., 4 p.m. These storms begin to cluster up as they move closer to Arkansas. But listen, if you live in eastern Oklahoma, early to mid-afternoon, storms are already going to be raging on. All hazards, large hail, damaging winds, strong tornadoes. And then watch what happens after this. More storms fire up. So around 5 p.m., if you miss these storms to your east in Oklahoma City, please do not think that it's over. More storms could fire to the west, a little bit further west than the initial storms formed this afternoon. So we get into 7 p.m., 8 p.m. Look at those storms once again firing around central Oklahoma, then once again drifting east. So, if you live in McAllister up to Tulsa and everybody in between, the eastern areas of Oklahoma, you could get hit by storms twice. Early mid-afternoon, then the evening hours. It's just going to be a double punch here. And we get into 10 p.m., 11 p.m., midnight, still ongoing supercells trailing off in eastern Oklahoma. So models have been liking the idea of this for a couple days now. Initial supercells right after lunchtime form here, and then more behind it form. Not a whole lot ongoing back in western Oklahoma. You guys need a break anyways from everything you saw yesterday. But then they'll eventually all get into Arkansas. Speaking of Arkansas, let's speak on it. This is around mid-morning, 10 a.m. This is 11 a.m., lunchtime. This is 1 p.m. Already could have a couple strong to severe storms firing off in central Arkansas. We'll have to see how that unfolds. But we get into 2 p.m., 3 p.m., 4 p.m. Action is just beginning to enter western Arkansas. We get into 5 p.m., the potential for dangerous storms begins to enter Mena up to Fort Smith, Fayetteville, Rogers, into western Arkansas. And these could be producing all hazards, 6 p.m., 7 p.m. You got to watch the southern flank of these storms down to here. This is where you'll have your better tornado threat. Up here, it's all messy. The atmosphere is worked up, but I'm not saying you can't get a tornado embedded in all this convection. It happens all the time. But the scary thing about today's severe weather threat, I think it's more dangerous than yesterday's severe weather threat. One, because it's in a more populated area. And then two, this is going to be messy, potentially rain-wrapped stuff. It doesn't mean that you ain't going to be able to see these tornadoes, but it's going to be harder to see. You're not going to know what's going to hit you in some cases. The further east you normally get, the more messy storm modes are, just in general, any time of the year. Russellville, 8 p.m. tonight, getting crushed by some nasty storms. These could be producing all hazards. We get into 11 p.m., midnight tonight. The entire northwest section of Arkansas just experiencing showers and storms, and things begin to calm down by the time we get into tomorrow morning. So be careful in Arkansas today. Kansas, another day of severe weather. I just think it's going to be further to the east. So this is 1 p.m., 2 p.m., 3 p.m. Look at those storms exploding off in eastern Kansas. If you live anywhere from Topeka, points south, points east, destructive storms are possible, capable of producing all hazards. The tornado threat might not be quite as high up here, but still significant, quite literally. So be careful. These storms look pretty bad. Very large hail possible. But it just looks like the forcing mechanism is going to promote more of a linear type look up here. So extreme eastern Kansas getting pounded by just line of storms, embedded tornadoes, gigantic hail possible. And the same situation could unfold in eastern Kansas of what compared to the same situation that might unfold in Oklahoma for later this afternoon in these areas. More additional storms could pop up. So initial early to mid-afternoon action will hit eastern Kansas. More storms could fire up a tad bit west, maybe closer to Manhattan, maybe west of Topeka, maybe all the way to Wichita, maybe all the way to Hutchinson. And then these storms will fire and then hit the same area. So it's a 1-2 punch in eastern Kansas and eastern Oklahoma today, unfortunately. Early to mid-afternoon storm action, then evening action. So when you get hit by the storms this afternoon in these areas, don't think it's over. The severe weather threat is not over. And then we'll just get some more action dancing around tonight. Could get some stronger to severe cells that could drift. There is an opportunity for some areas in eastern Kansas to get hit 3 times over the next 24 hours, folks. It's just ugly setup. Ugly setup. Missouri, you're going to be dealing with a little bit of shower and storm activity this morning. This will begin to clear out At 1 p.m., already some storms, kind of between Joplin and Kansas City, Clinton. And then we get to 3 p.m. And I mentioned this in last night's video if you tuned in. It's just going to be a sloppy storm fest in Missouri. Nothing really put together well. 5 p.m., just an extremely stormy afternoon, evening for western Missouri. Kansas City getting hit by storms about mid to late afternoon. And this first batch of storms will just cruise across the entire state of Missouri, hit everybody pretty much. If you don't get hit hard, you'll at least get some rain probably. And eventually these storms will work all the way into western Illinois. They'll begin to hit Quincy, get into the St. Louis area. And then here comes that second round that hits eastern Kansas, and this will also hit western Missouri. This is 10 p.m. Storms slamming. The higher tornado threat and higher all hazards risk will certainly be down near Joplin. You got to watch for these storms around 4 p.m. in Joplin. Could produce tornadoes up to Springfield. And then the next round moves in about 3 or 4 or 5 hours later. And then this sweeps across the entire state of Missouri. And then we have to watch for some additional storms into the wee hours of the morning tomorrow morning that could affect western Missouri also. Oof, just a lot going on in Oklahoma, Kansas, and Missouri with multiple rounds of storms. And then, showing some love to Illinois, even though your threat of severe weather isn't super high today. Could have just some showers and storms throughout the late morning, afternoon hours. And then we just got to watch for all this action that moves out of Missouri into your state of Illinois. Around 9 p.m., some storms begin to move into the western counties of Illinois. And these could still be producing some large hail, some gusty winds, even a tornado risk. But, for example, this is 11 p.m. Just some really heavy rain, stormy conditions moving into Springfield, Galesburg, Peoria, Carbondale. Storms could be a little bit more intense down there. And then we start to take it to about the early morning hours of tomorrow morning, and just a whole lot of rain. Could have some more intense storms for the southern half of Illinois. It's around 4 a.m. You see the intense colors down here. So these storms could pack a little bit more of a punch, so we'll see about that. But a lot of heavy rain moves in overnight for Illinois and even Indiana. We could have a severe line of storms hitting Evansville around 6, 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. We'll have to see. Nebraska shows some love up here. We're going to have just some lingering convection in the northeast areas of the state. That could refire this afternoon. So watch for these storms. I wouldn't be surprised if these produce a tornado warning or two. And then these storms erupt down here into the southeastern portion of the state. Watch out, Lincoln, Omaha points south. These storms could produce some tornadoes. The kinematics are better up here. Your thermodynamics are not as good. But you'll definitely have the wind energy that supports tornadoes up here in this region of eastern Nebraska. So storms really fire up in just the extreme eastern sections of the state. So just be careful. Sioux City down to Lincoln, Omaha, anywhere in between. These storms could produce kind of an all hazards risk. There is a risk of severe weather all the way up here for a reason. And they'll kind of dance around. And eventually, as we get into the overnight hours, everything will begin to move on out. But also showing Iowa here, and this was the last state we'll show, just scattered downpours will be drifting throughout the state throughout the morning and early afternoon. Then we'll get some heavier rain and storm activity that surges south to north across southern and central Iowa. These could be strong and severe. Just want to watch these storms, though, that try to get out of Nebraska around late evening. These storms could produce a higher risk of a tornado, but it honestly just mainly looks like rounds of heavy rain, especially as we get into the overnight hours, some rumbles of thunder. But a severe risk will be here in Iowa, just not as high as to the south. And then the entire rotation of this ejecting shortwave surface feature will actually quite literally spin across the state of Iowa. So the updraft velocity swath in these areas, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see where all the highlighted areas are, the colors. This indicates stronger, potentially rotating updrafts. So basically where you see these slashes of colors, this is where this particular model run likes the idea of more intense, strong to severe thunderstorms, and they are going to be intense. And it's highlighted right over that moderate and enhanced risk area, guys. These storms are going to pack one heck of a punch. There's going to be some strong gusty winds. The hail will be huge with these storms. So take it serious. Take it serious in these areas today. So show some love to my folks in the the Mid-South and the Southeast. We do have a slight risk going from Nashville all the way to Athens through Southwest North Carolina. through Greenville, all the way to, say, the western Midlands of South Carolina. Level 2 out of 5, risk of severe weather. A marginal in the dark green surrounds that. This is a tricky severe weather threat. Models have flip-flopped on this, but I'm going to actually look at the NAM. I like the idea of the NAM better. We're going to get some storm action that affects western Kentucky potentially through the morning hours. Eventually, this action will drift south through the late morning hours and hit Nashville, eventually get to the Cumberland Plateau, begin to affect Chattanooga, areas of northern Georgia. And I do think these storms could be more intense than what model guidance is showing. So I just would be on the lookout for some storms, maybe as far north as southeastern Kentucky, but definitely western Tennessee. And then after we get into the evening hours, could get some lingering downpours. But it doesn't look as intense as it did yesterday when I showed you this, I'll be honest. But watch out for some storms in northern Georgia today. And then you see these storms in the upstate of South Carolina, Greenville, Spartanburg. There's a little mini micro tornado alley up here in upstate South Carolina. Things like the spin, and I think it has something to do with a dramatic elevation change in extreme northwest North Carolina. If you're not from this area, you might not think that South Carolina has any mountains, but they do. Highest peak is a little over 3,000 feet, Mount Sassafras. But there is a dip in elevation right up here, and there's a theory that this actually causes an extra spin with these storms. And it makes sense because you see it like up in Virginia too a lot. But just watch out for these storms. This is 6, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and we just could have some storms drifting through northeast Georgia and the western half of South Carolina, North Carolina today. So, but tomorrow's severe weather threat is still an enhanced risk. A level 3 out of 5. This goes from western areas of Kentucky like Bowling Green, Paducah, Madisonville, down into the entire middle to western half of Tennessee, Nashville, Jackson, Memphis, Dyersburg. You guys included in all this, Clarksville. And then it gets all the way down into northern Alabama. Florence, Huntsville, all the way into Memphis, Tennessee. It gets down into Columbus, Greenwood, Mississippi, Oxford, Tupelo. And does include just a very small section of just the west of the Mississippi into Arkansas. So slight risk goes around this, and it's pretty large. I mean, it goes all the way up to Indianapolis, over to St. Louis, up to Cincinnati, Louisville, Lexington, Knoxville, down to Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, down to Jackson, all the way down to the northern parishes of Virginia, all the way back to Little Rock. Not Virginia, I'm sorry, Louisiana, all the way back into Little Rock, Arkansas. I can see the enhanced risk climbing a little bit more into Kentucky. I think that the severe weather threat will increase more into this area of Kentucky, but we'll see what happens. The tornado threat, unfortunately, in that enhanced risk area, Nashville, Tupelo, Memphis, Huntsville, Florence, up to Madisonville, Paducah. Unfortunately, we do have a 10% risk of a tornado within 25 miles of a given location. There's a 10% risk of that tornado being a strong EF2 or higher one. So, we just another day of severe weather. Brown, a 5% risk of a tornado, and then in the green, that's a 2% risk. And then looking at the wind threats, if you live in that red area, that is a 30% risk of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour. And the yellow area is a 15% risk of that. And then the hail threat with this, right now, just a 15% risk of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger in that yellow area. So the good news with this, before I show you the radar here, the good news with this, guys, is after tomorrow, the severe weather threat dramatically drops off. I mean, just like that. I mean, there'll be a little risk of some severe weather along the southeast coastline, but it's a pretty dramatic drop off. So starting off tomorrow morning, here's just a quick look at what the radar could look like as it unfolds. We're going to be waking up to a lot of storm and heavy rain activity across western Kentucky already, up into Indiana. And then as we start to get to about the afternoon hours, you can see all these cells developing. The severe weather threat could increase a little bit more into southern Illinois, southern Indiana because of this. But this is about midday. We get into the late afternoon hours, and all of this action begins to cruise across Tennessee. Some intense supercells are possible in northern Mississippi and Alabama. And we got a lot of action up here in Kentucky. I do think the severe weather threat will unfortunately increase for Kentucky. We could get some cells that develop here in the Carolinas. We'll have to see. But we get until later in the evening. These storms will try to fire and drift southeastward across Alabama, Mississippi, and eventually get into Georgia later tomorrow evening. These storms will hit, say, eastern Tennessee, eastern Kentucky pretty hard tomorrow evening. And the general theme for the Carolinas and Georgia has just been that by the time this energy gets east of the Appalachian Mountains, it begins to weaken. We have not – it is feast and famine in the southeast in regards to rainfall. I mean, we're either getting just buckets of it or either we just go 2 weeks without it. And we got so much rain about a week ago from today, but haven't gotten a drop of rain since. And we've been, I don't know, just it's hard to get storms east of the Appalachian Mountains these days, it seems like. But anyways, it's good news for people who don't like a storm. I'm passionate about the weather. I like a good old thunderstorm every once in a while. So, but we certainly don't want all the craziness that's been going on to our west, but unfortunately you guys have had to deal with it. But we'll continue to feed you guys information. I don't want to guarantee you guys a video this evening, but I'm going to try to get one out for you folks one last time and double up for tomorrow's severe weather threat. But side story here, guys. I didn't tell you guys because I didn't want to speak out loud on it and then have to backtrack. I thought really hard about chasing over the last couple of days. I was actually going to chase. There was going to be a potential that I will tell you this: I would have definitely chased Friday if it wasn't for my little girl's end of the year ceremony she had at school. I would not miss that for the world. And I would have actually probably went to Kentucky Friday, but that happened. The end of the year is always busy. And I thought about leaving yesterday afternoon after church and going west and being there for today's severe weather threat, and then chasing tomorrow's too. But just decided not to. A lot of people who are probably new to my channel, I do storm chase. I actually did a lot more in the beginning stages of starting my social media journey. But as of late, it's been hard for me to pull the trigger on chasing. I don't honestly enjoy the driving. I like driving when I'm on the way to vacation or something. But I don't enjoy I enjoy driving, but I don't enjoy it as much as I probably should as a storm chaser. Two, it ruins my routine. I have a very strict routine, guys, where I take my fitness and my nutrition and everything very, very strict. So when I go chase for 2 days or when I'm chasing a hurricane, it wrecks it for about a week. And I can't stand that. I really can't. So, and then three, I really miss my kids and my wife. I don't like being away from them for more than a day or two. So, I don't know. That's just the way I am. I don't think I'm cut out to be a full-time chaser or anything like that. I enjoy it. I love the heck out of it. I got footage littered throughout my YouTube channel of me chasing. But it's harder for me to pull the trigger to do it these days. It really is. I am going to chase a hurricane this year. I love the tropics. I love hurricanes, and I love just tracking it and stuff like that. But I'm normally good for about 1, maybe 3 long-range chases a year. So just a little side few-minute story on that. But anyways, appreciate the support over the last few days. The views have picked up. People have been tuning in a little bit more. But I appreciate y'all trusting me. Hope you've gotten the information you need out of the videos, and I appreciate y'all very much. Stay safe today. Please take the weather serious. I've said this a couple times, but you got to respect the weather. People do not respect it. They don't take it serious. And I know this because people will have casual conversations about the weather to me at work sometimes, and they don't know that I do what I do on the side. And you can tell that you kind of have to not get detailed with them because you can tell they just start getting uninterested. And, it's something you got to take serious before it gets serious. I've gotten this little slogan I've said over the last few days, you respect the weather or it will take your respect in the most disrespectful way. It's true. It's very true. You can't just rely on tornado sirens You can't rely on you can't rely on the old age of things all the time, guys. You got to know what's going on. That's why it's important to download a very reliable radar and to not just skim through this type of information. So just a little bit of rambling this morning. God bless all y'all. Appreciate y'all. Y'all have a wonderful day and stay safe.